story begins on May 10th, 1773 in London. The Townshend Acts on glass, lead, oil, paint, and paper have failed. The only tax remaining is the tea tax.
Excuse me, you're blocking my view.
Your Highness, as was said before, the act has done us no good. There have been too many boycotts and our trade is failing.
If you would have allowed me to finish, I would have stated that the British East India Company was also in major debt.
Pardon, sir, this isn't your story to tell.
My apologies.
Since the Townshend Revenue Acts have taken failure, a new act, the Tea Act, will be passed.
And what will this act entail, Your Highness?
According to our unwanted narrator, the British East India Company is suffering and our trade is failing. The tea tax will give us the control over the American tea trade that we need. I really hope this solves our issues.
Splendid.
Back in Boston, Massachusetts, not long after this act came into the colonists' lives.
How could this be happening? We fight and we fight for our freedom, yet this approaches us, dark and looming.
Francis, if Parliament believes they can do this to us, what could happen next? Tea is an important asset to me personally.
Can I no longer smuggle my tea from Holland? Why does this have to happen? Many colonists are unable to pay their own fees.
I'm afraid not, Francis. I heard from some of the others the tea will only arrive in the trading company ships and be sold by its merchants. I'm enraged.
We must persevere. Join me, my friends, in the fight for liberty.
Not only did the colonists in Boston boycott, but the people of Charleston, South Carolina dumped tea onto the docks to let it rot. In New York City and Philadelphia, the colonists blocked tea ships from landing into the harbor. The nation was molding as one to stand against King George and London.
But I do believe that our boycott was the most remembered.
Agreed, Samuel.
What will we do to take our stand? We need ideas.
I think I've got one. We need to be inconspicuous. Any ideas, Samuel?
Why, of course. If we dress as the natives, then our chances of being identified by the British and the colonists who believe in this tyranny will be lowered.
Brilliant, but what will we do in our costumes? We still need ideas.
Oh boy, I've got one. In our dress, we will sneak onto the ships the night of December 16th, when they are bound to come into the harbor. We will dump the tea on the ships into the water.
Oh, this is bound to prove that we will not stand by where our rights are ripped away by that tyrant George.
So, on the night of December 16th, Samuel Adams, William Cox, Francis Moore, and hundreds others climbed the ships that landed into the harbor. They dumped a total of 342 chests of tea into the water.
This is only the beginning. I cannot believe it. We have accomplished our goal without a conflict to be seen for miles and miles.
This is wonderful. I'm truly surprised we did not encounter any of the crew members on the Dartmouth, Eleanor, or Beaver.
I congratulate you both, and all the other men who worked beside you. As the first significant act of rebellion led by the colonists and the Sons of Liberty, it was a success. The news had to be spread. But by who?
For God's sake, sir, could you be any slower? The news would be spread by no other than my good friend Paul Revere.
I heard my name, and yes, I will be riding into Manhattan shortly to deliver the news of your revolt.
So Paul Revere rode into Manhattan and spread the news.
Hear ye, the Sons of Liberty have taken a stand in Boston.
Let's travel back to Boston, shall we?
The Boston harbor reeks of the tea. Lawyers are trying to salvage any bits of tea left.
That's unfortunate, Samuel. And could you have thought that maybe the Boston harbor reeks of tea from the 92,000 pounds you dumped into it?
Excuse me, but nobody asked for your extra information.
No need to get angry.
As I was saying, the Boston harbor reeks of tea. Lawyers are trying to salvage anything they can. Any ideas what to do to prevent them?
Guys, I've got one. So we're going to take the tea and we're going to soil it into the harbor. And we're going to gather everybody in. That's what we're going to do.
It shall be done.
While the colonists were quite pleased with themselves, back in London, the news was just reaching King George on a dreary January 20th, 1774.
Enough of shutting down the Boston Harbor completely. So those wretched colonists have been taught a lesson.
And what will this new act be called?
The Boston Port Act seems fitting. And it will give us the control, and they'll be taught a lesson so that they know that we will fight until we can't anymore.
Agreed.
As our story comes to an end, I feel it seems right to state that the Boston Tea Party was such a significant act that it was the first movement to set the ball rolling in the colonists winning their freedom. It looks as if John Andrews agrees to the immense importance.
Nothing will save us but an entire stopping of trade to both England and the West Indies throughout the continent, and that must be determined both speedily and absolutely. The least hesitation by you to the south and all is over. I sincerely believe they intend to carry out their threats, which are to make the town a desolate wilderness and the grass to grow in our streets. I do hope my blessed brother Bill receives this soon.